All right, what's up, guys? Sam Shaw here from Wall Street Mastermind. Um, Wanted to come on here and share this week's Saturday, Tuesday. Sorry it's so late this week, by the way. I literally just got home today from the hospital from the birth of my daughter, which happened last Friday, and we were in hospital for about 4 days. And so it's been hectic just getting um, kind of settled down back into our house and getting the dog acquainted with the baby. And so it's been fun times, super exciting in our household, but at the same time, I've been super busy. So with that said, still got to come on here and do Saturday, Tuesday. So let's just dive right down to it, right? And today I'm talking about something that it's not 100% exactly like, how do you get into investment banking, but nonetheless, it's something that I think a lot of you would really be interested in hearing. I came across this article that I think is relevant for a lot of you guys because, a lot of you are either in your early 20s right now or about to become 20 soon. And also, you guys all want to get into investment banking, which tells me that the vast majority of you probably have aspirations to become millionaires in the future, right? And so I wanted to share this with you guys because there was a lot of advice in here that I wish I had gotten back when I was younger, when I was in my 20s. I ultimately did get to a seven-figure net worth by my early 30s, and so uh, I don't know. Some of it's probably luck, quite frankly, but some of it too, a lot of it was by my own doing. But nobody kind of taught me how to do it, right? And I didn't go do research on it or anything. I just, worked hard, was in the right place at the right time, created the opportunities, and made the most of those opportunities when they were given to me. But I think for a lot of you, maybe some of you who need a little bit more guidance, this will be really helpful to you. Okay, so let's just go through this article. I mean, it's called 19 Things Future Multimillionaires Do in Their 20s. No matter how much you start out with, you'll be a lot richer in your 30s if you adopt these habits in your 20s. So it's by a guy named Bill Murphy Jr. Okay, and so who is he? Well, he's interviewed a lot of super wealthy people, originally for his book called Intelligent Entrepreneur, and then later for Inc.com, which is obviously where we're reading this, right? And so he's boiled down kind of the advice that he got from them, the top 20 pieces of advice into this article, okay? In terms of things that you should do in your 20s, so that you can become a millionaire by the time you're in your 30s, okay? So I'm not going to go through every single one of these in detail, but I'm just going to go through the ones I think are more relevant and more interesting. Okay, so the first thing is they develop multiple income sources. I mean, it's really, really hard to make a lot of money when you just have one income source, right? And so that makes sense. But what I will tell you is that speaking from personal experience, and now that I especially have more money and have a seven-figure net worth and I'm making a bunch of investments, like it's really hard to have multiple sources of income if you don't have capital to play with in the first place. Because usually your extra source, I mean, the first sources of income is your job, right? But the extra sources of income usually is going to come from your investments. Because you can only work so many jobs. Like you're not going to go out and work two or three or seven different jobs or whatever, right? So when they say, hey, the typical millionaire have at least seven different sources of income, most of that is coming through investment. So whether you want to invest in real estate or private equity or venture capital or I don't know hedge funds or cryptocurrency, whatever your cup of tea is, the one common thread through all of that is that you're going to need to have capital to be able to even make that type of investment, right? And so this is where like, hey, if you can graduate and get into investment banking and your starting salary is $125,000, your second year you're making $150,000, that makes a huge difference in terms of your ability to have excess capital to invest, right? Because the average college grad is only making $50,000 right now, nowadays. And so $50,000, you're probably living paycheck to paycheck, right? $125,000, okay, now we're talking, excess income that we don't need that we can actually invest into these additional income sources. Okay, so that's the first point. Second point, they take action. Sometimes they fail. It's pretty self-explanatory. Don't be afraid to fail. I'm not going to talk too much about that. They make sure that they own their time. This is a really interesting point. Not interesting, but it's a really great point that people don't think about most of the time, is that there's two types of people in this world. There's like people who are rich and people who are poor, right? And the people who are rich, like once you've actually been around them for a while, you notice one thing that's really different from them in terms of their mentality, which is that what they value the most is actually their time. Okay. Whereas people that are poor, what they value the most is money, right? And so people who are poor, they will try to be super cheap and do everything on their own for as cheap as possible for free, right? Whereas the people that are rich, they understand the value of time. And so they'll pay other people to do things for them, other people who can do it faster and who can do it better, so that they spend their own time on the things that they're good at, right? Because that's where they get leverage, right? Um, a rich person, like they can say, oh, I make $500 an hour, right? Or I make $1,000 an hour, right? I'm not gonna go and do these chores or run these errands or whatever when I could just pay someone way less money than whatever my hourly rate is to do that, right? The other thing to understand is that time is something that you never get back, right? Whereas money, if you spend money, you can always make more money, right? And so that's why, like, if you want to be rich, you got to know how to think like a rich person. And to think like a rich person, you have to value your time more than your money. Okay. So, um, they network a lot, right? And this is obviously, you guys are all trying to get into investment banking. You understand the importance of networking. It's really not about what you know, it's about who you know a lot of the times. Okay. Whether it's not just for job opportunities, but for investment opportunities. Like, a lot of my best investment opportunities have come from other people that I've met, right? And I'm not talking about like, oh, people who are my best friends or whatever. I'm talking about people who a lot of times are just like loose acquaintances, basically. And a lot of times those loose acquaintances are actually the best connections to have, because you actually never know um, when or how they can help you, right? They think strategically, okay? So they learn to decide what their goals are and then work backwards to figure out what they have to do each year, each week, and even each day to make it happen. And they track their progress. So this is something that I see that's an issue for a lot of you guys. It's like, especially, let's just use getting into investment banking as an example, right? So all of you guys want to get into investment banking. So you know what the goal is, but you don't really know how to get there. And you don't really have a plan. You don't have a strategy. You guys are just kind of like going about it in the dark, um, doing a little bit here, doing a little bit there. Oh, you just read this thing online, so you go try that out. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, let me try out this other thing. So you're doing a lot of trial and error and a lot of experimenting, and a lot of times none of that stuff works. And then you just end up frustrated and you're lost, right? This is what I always tell people, is like, it's having a right strategy is super important, right? And this is what a lot of what we help our clients with is like laying out a step-by-step game plan and strategy for them to follow, so that they can, you know, work backwards from the goal and make sure they're doing all the right things and only those things, right? And they're not wasting, again, going back to up here to how valuable time is, they're not wasting their time, right? Shoe higher than seems reasonable. I mean, this seems somewhat applicable to banking too. It's just like, sometimes people say, oh, well, there's no way I can get this bank, or there's no way I can get that bank, and there's no way that, I can get the Goldman Sachs from a non-target school. Absolutely not true. Okay, we help plenty of clients do stuff like that. By the way, even if you don't end up getting there, if you at least aim to get there in the first place, even if you fail, you're not gonna end up, somewhere too crappy, right? Um, you can still end up at like another bulge bracket bank or a lead boutique or a middle market bank or whatever. Still a great outcome. But if you aim too low, then when you miss, you're actually going to miss the mark entirely, right? They learn to sell. I mean, this is obviously important, and no matter what you do in life, but even in the investment banking context, as a candidate, I mean, as a senior banker, it's really a sales job, right? You're selling companies and CEOs and CFOs on your ideas on, why they should do a certain deal, why they should acquire or sell a certain company, why they should raise capital. So that's sales, right? But also, even as a candidate trying to get into banking, you're still doing sales. Like, you're trying to sell yourself. You are the product, right? And you're trying to sell yourself to the firm and get them to give you a job and take a chance on you, right? So learning to sell, super important. Try to be good friends and colleagues. I mean, this is just like being a good human being. Not going to spend too much time on that. They invest. I kind of already talked about this earlier, right? But this goes back to my point about, hey, needing to have multiple income sources, right? So I think those two are related. They watch your spending. Don't blow all your money on like bottle service and I don't know, buying expensive watches and whatever. Like I do see people that do that once they get into banking. It's kind of stupid. Like, yes, you're making six figures, but you're also not like truly that rich yet, right? They learn to negotiate. Okay, everything in life is negotiable. Negotiable. Not going to talk too much about this, but it's absolutely true. You should learn to negotiate. They find mentors. So this one, I love this one, right? So what does he say? One great thing about the world, so no matter what you want to do, someone out there has probably already done it, or at least part of it, right? And if you can find out who they are and how they got there, it's an incredible advantage, right? It's an even bigger advantage if you can get them to advise you and maybe see a little of themselves in you too, right? So this is what I was trying to tell you guys is like, hey, you're trying to, right now, like, you're trying to get into investment banking, for example, right? And it's something that you've never done before. But there are other people that have done this, right? Wall Street Mastermind, especially, right? We do this all day, every day for not just ourselves, but for like all of our clients, right? So we've done this many, many, many times before. There's a lot of learning that has happened throughout that process. Mistakes that we've made along the way or our clients have made along the way. Those are things that can be very costly for you to figure out on your own, right? So that's the beauty of having a mentor. I mean, not just for you guys, like I have mentors too. And by the way, like, I don't know if you guys know, like I pay a lot of money to work with my mentors because, there's like different ways to find mentors. I mean, you can find someone who actually just like, has, for whatever reason, feels connected to you and wants to help you out. But that's pretty hard to do, right? And people are only going to invest so much of their time in you. If there's not that much in it for them, right? Or alternatively, like the easiest thing to do if you really want a mentor is to just pay someone to mentor you. And so then that's more of a business relationship. But as long as you think that the value that they're going to provide you is a lot more than what you're paying them, then it's a great deal. That's a great investment, right? Along similar lines, they invest in education, right? Hey, it doesn't mean borrow thousands to pursue an advanced degree, right? Unless you're sure it makes financial sense or you're confident you really want to pursue the career that the degree prepares you for. Instead, it means simply becoming a lifelong learner and not paying more than you have to for your education, right? So, like, all of our clients that invest in Wall Street Mastermind, I tell them this too, is like, this is just another form of education. It's like we're teaching our clients like what they need to do to get investment banking jobs, right? Not just like the application itself to all the networking, which is actually, there's a lot more to it than most of you guys realize, to how to answer the behavioral questions, to how to answer the technical questions. Some of these things are actually like not just investment banking recruiting skills, but they're life skills, right? Like behavioral interviewing, that's life skills that you're going to use for the rest of your life. Like learning how to network with people, that's a life skill that you're going to need for the rest of your life. Coming back up here again to how the rich people, they network a lot, right? And so investing in something like Wall Street Mastermind is really just like another form of education, right? And so I pay like tens of thousands of dollars a year to my business mentors because they are ahead of where I am. They are where I'm trying to go, right? My business mentor makes like, I think he's going to do like $30 million of revenue next year, okay? And he's freaking amazing. He teaches me so much stuff. He saves me so much time, so much pain, unnecessary pain from like just trial and error and stuff that I don't have to do otherwise. Like, it's absolutely worth it for me to pay him tens of thousands of dollars, and I pay it gladly, okay? So obviously we don't charge our clients tens of thousands of dollars for us to help them get into investment banking. But like arguably getting into investment banking, the values are much more than that, right? Like getting into investment banking, the lifetime value of that on your career is literally in the millions of dollars, right? Not my number, but based on study that's been done at Stanford Graduate School of Business, right? So these, like, I love these two, okay? Like if you guys walk away with just one thing today, like these will be it, okay? Refuse to become slaves, volunteer to do more. These all make sense. Work their butt off. Obviously, you got to work your butt off. Nobody gets rich by slacking off, right? They embrace entrepreneurship. I mean, this is what I'm doing right now. And so obviously I get that. They have fun and adventures, and they believe they can do this, right? So anyway, this is the list. Like if you want to read this in detail on your own, just go search this up on Google and I'm sure you'll find it. The other thing that's related to this I want to show you guys, this other article that I saw on Business Insiders, where a different guy, Thomas Corley, he interviewed 200 millionaires, okay? And he wrote a different book, I think. He studied this for 5 years. And he basically found that there are three types of self-made millionaires. There are the savers, the executives, and the entrepreneurs, okay? And I think this makes total sense. So what are these three types of people? So he did a 5-year study, okay? Interviewed 177 self-made millionaires, asked them how they got rich. There's three groups. Savers are people who save, and save their way to wealth, right? They live below their means. They save, they invest, they penny pinch, and it takes them about 32 years to become a millionaire. Now, if I think I know what most of you are thinking. I may be wrong, but for most of you, you're hoping to become a millionaire much sooner than like 32 years from whenever you start working, right? So, I mean, because that just takes forever, right? Savers typically were risk averse, employ most of their lives, earn a moderate wage, had a low or moderate standard of living, right? I mean, sure, you become a millionaire, but it doesn't sound like it's very fun. Like, what's the whole point of becoming a millionaire if you gotta live this way, right? But it's the safest way, sure. Just not the way that I would personally prefer. I don't know about you guys. So the second group got there by being an executive, okay? So, oh, that's so trippy. I used to work with this girl, and her startup just raised hella money. That's awesome. So anyway, she, by the way, also used to be a banker and then went into private equity and worked at TPG, I believe, or TPG Growth. And then we worked together at Square on the finance and strategy team. Her name is Adina. And she's super smart, by the way. And then she left, after she left Square, she went and started this company with some of her friends. So obviously kicking ass. That's awesome. But I'm going to open this actually so I can read it afterwards. But so the second group, sorry for that random tangent. The second group of millionaires, they're the executives, right? And so they basically work for large companies and they got a lot of stock. Now, this can definitely work, right? Like I've done this sort of, like I wasn't like a high level C-level executive or anything at like a super huge corporation, but I was, like probably mid to senior level at some very hot startups like Square and GitHub, right? And my stock options that I got in both of those jobs ended up being worth 7 figures, right? And that was, I stayed at each of those jobs for a year and a half or less, right? And I made 7 figures just on my stock options, not including my salary in both of those jobs. How was I able to do that though? One, I attribute a lot of that to the fact that I started out in investment banking first, right? I did banking, then I did PE. What that did was like, well, why do you need to do that to become an executive or to get a lot of stock at these companies? Well, one, the amount of stock that a company gives you is anchored off of how much money you were already making previously before you came in to work for them, right? Because I was already making so much money in banking and private equity, they had to compensate me by giving me a lot more stock, or else it wouldn't make sense for me to take a huge pay cut to go and work for them, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is your stock is only worth a lot if you pick the right companies. And so the skill sets that I learned in investment banking and in private equity allowed me to basically be able to identify the winners, right? Because both Square and GitHub, I went in knowing that they were going to become huge companies. Or, I mean, you can't definitively know, but I had relatively high conviction that they were going to become huge companies, right? And I ended up being right. And that comes from the skill set of learning to think like an investor, knowing how a professional investor thinks, knowing who they're likely to throw their money behind, and who they're going to back, right? And then the last, and so that's important. And then like also the last point on that too is these companies that tend to be the hottest companies where their stocks is going to be worth a lot of people want to work for them. So they also only want to hire the best of the best, right? So for them to actually hire you, like you have to, again, be super qualified. And so that's another thing that banking and working in banking or starting your career in banking is going to give you, right? So this can definitely be an option. Took them a little bit less time, right? They took the first group 32 years. Took this group 25 years, okay? And then the last group is the entrepreneurs, right? So this is like basically what I'm doing now, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I started my own business. This group by far accumulated the most wealth, average of $7.4 million over an average of 12 years, okay? But it's also the riskiest, and it's the hardest path because, you know, a lot of these entrepreneurs, they fail, right? But I think, again, even on this entrepreneur path, if you decide you want to go this way, like if these are the three paths to you and you don't want to be like, you know, do it the savers way and have to like penny pinch your way there, then you pretty much have the second way or this third way, right? And even this third way, now that I'm an entrepreneur, I would argue that the things that I learned in investment banking and knowing how businesses run, knowing what the best in class companies in the world are doing, knowing how to read financial statements, knowing how to just think about business drivers, that has helped me immensely as a business owner. You know, it's helped me immensely as an entrepreneur. It's why my business is a big reason why my business was successful from the beginning, right? It's been profitable from day one, okay? So I think that this is what they mean when they say, hey, if you start your career in investment banking, it can open up a lot of doors for you and the exit opportunities are phenomenal. Some of the best things you could do out there, not saying investment banking is the only way to get there. Like investment banking is not the only way for you to become an executive. Investment banking is not the only way for you to become an entrepreneur, but it can be very helpful if you have that experience, right? So anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you guys today. Hopefully that all made sense. And look, as always, if you guys are looking for help with getting into investment banking, and if you understand, again, the value of mentors and the value of investing in your education, and I would encourage you to reach out and see if we're a good fit to help you. We may or may not be, I don't know, but that's why we want to talk to you first. And if we can talk to you and just figure out together what it is that you feel like you currently need help with, we'll give you our very honest assessment of whether we're the best people to help you or whether there's someone else out there that's better to help you do that, okay? Like I have a client that just signed up 2 days ago, and as they were considering, like I actually showed them, as they were considering working with Wall Street Mastermind, I actually showed them some of our competitors and their offers, just in full transparency, so that they can make the best decision for themselves, right? On what the pros and cons are and which one they think is best, and they ended up choosing us, right? Because look, I don't mind doing that, right? Because a lot of times I know that my offer is the best offer, but look, if my offer is not the best offer for you and there's something else out there that's going to be a better fit for you, a lot of times I'll point you to that instead, because I can't work with everybody. Like there's so many people that want to work with me and want our help that I simply can't help everybody, right? And so I will do my best to just give you advice and guide you down in the right direction either way, but you got to take the first step by reaching out and booking a call with me and my team. Okay, so if you want to do that, let me drop this down in the comments. Book a free strategy session with our team here. www.wallstmastermind.com/apply. Okay, again, that's wallstmastermind.com/apply. Okay, so that'll be it for today. Sorry for the super late Facebook Live, but wanted to get on here and share this with you guys, and hopefully you guys found it helpful. Okay, so we'll be back again next week with another edition of Thought of the Day Tuesday. Until then, talk to you guys later. Bye.